Hey Daily Dosers, Chris Hilken here. We're going to get controversial today, so open to the book of Ephesians chapter 1, beginning at verse 7. You might have heard that song that's going around in Christian circles right now called Reckless Love, and a lot of people push back pretty strongly to that, right? Like, reckless love. How can you call God's love reckless? The chorus, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. We're going to look at that a little bit in today's verses here in the book of Ephesians chapter 1. Larry talked about this previously. It says, "In him we have a redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of God's grace that he lavished on us with all wisdom and understanding. He made known to us the mystery of his will according to his good pleasure, which he purposed in Christ, to put in effect when the times reach their fulfillment, to bring unity to all things in heaven and on earth under Christ." So, we sing this song, and our natural instinct is to say, God's not reckless, right? God, he's calculated, he's sure, he's wise, he's prudent, he's anything but reckless. And the issue is when we think reckless, we think, oh man, that guy just jumped off that, thing without he didn't have the proper safety equipment, or that was a reckless thing to do, or they just bought a new car when they're just about to have a baby. That's a reckless thing to do. And we so often associate it with people who have finite resources. And that's the difference between God and us. It's that same idea, that same word that is used for the word reckless. There is there's a story in Luke 15 called the prodigal son. And it's really the story of the reckless son. That word prodigal means someone who gives or spends recklessly. But the funny thing is that's kind of what God calls himself. He goes, I'm a reckless spending God. Now, we got to make a distinction here because God is unlimited in resources and everything else. But what does it specifically say that God is reckless with? His grace. It means that God has such a preponderance of and a wealth of things to give away. It's like maybe you've been to someone's house before and you think to yourself, like, are they looking for ways to spend money? Like, is that all they think about is how am I going to spend my money today? You almost wish sometimes you would give them that same kind of money where you could go, man, it's like you didn't even think about it. It's like you have so much that you're able to just spend it in these weird, ridiculous ways. And that's exactly what the love of God is like. That's what the grace of God is like. That's what it says here in the text. It says, in him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, in accordance with the riches of God's grace that he lavished, that he prodigally gave us with all wisdom and understanding. Again, that word prodigal doesn't mean the bad son or the runaway son. It means the son who spent lavishly. But the connection God's making, he says, that's the son who spent lavishly and needed something to buy him back. The father buys back the prodigal son. Jesus then calls himself, he goes, I'm the prodigal son now. I'm the lavishly spending son. I'm the son of God, but what I've lavishly spent isn't money that I didn't have. It's grace that I do have. It's forgiveness that I have purchased. You see, someone who's got an infinite number of resources doesn't really spend things recklessly because they have an infinite supply of them. So when we come to God in forgiveness and we need mercy and we need his grace, we can't go, man, I just drained a little bit of God's emotional economy, or I just drained a little bit more of God's emotional forgiveness, or his bandwidth to forgive me. No, he's reckless. You can come to him every day and go, God, would you forgive me? If you have a penitent and contrite heart and you're truly seeking God, and you're going to mess up every day. I mess up every day. And I love that idea then of God going, look, I've got lavishly, recklessly spending grace for you, son. I've got lavishly, recklessly spending grace for you, daughter. Because I've got it to spare. The cross purchased an infinite amount of grace that he's doling out and giving out with all kindness and all graciousness to those who are being saved, to those who call him Father, to those he calls son and daughter. Those who are found in him, we've got an infinite supply of grace for us. As it says, his mercies are new every morning. Would you bask in that today? An overwhelming, never-ending, reckless, lavish redemption, blood of the Most High God, paid for us so we could approach him as son and daughter. See you guys tomorrow.